Last night, the Switch 2 trailer officially dropped. I was half asleep when this trailer dropped because it was the middle of the night, around 12:30 here in Australia, when all the notifications started buzzing up on my phone. I checked it out, I retweeted a post, and then went back to sleep without watching the trailer. I have since watched the trailer, but I thought we would sit down, analyze. Let's talk about everything that we can see in this trailer about the new Switch 2. Do I have audio? Oh, yes, I do. Okay, bigger screen. We knew we could expect a bigger screen. I think we all knew this was coming. Also, with all the leaks, we've already seen a lot of like the framing and what this possibly would look like. A bigger screen is not that surprising. Also, if they had OLED screens from the get-go, that wouldn't be very surprising either. This part is interesting. The part where we get rid of this surface layer, I think of the old Switch. This is what I haven't looked at. Oh, I love that I just picked up my Switch for the first time and there's a little announcement about the Switch 2 being released on the home screen. I think what we're saying is we're doing a new surface finish. So I would think we're saying that we're going more matte than what the current Switch body is, potentially to match what the Joy-Cons are. So the Joy-Cons and the body of the system will be the same matte finish because the body now is a little shinier than the controllers, like than the Joy-Cons. Like this body is more shiny than this surface finish. That's what it looks like in this animation. Okay, we've got the bevels. Okay, pause. There is a little notch on the bottom of the current Switch behind the USB-C port on the back, which is smaller than what they're showing here. Looks like this notch got wider. I think that's just how it's docked. That's how it's used to dock. The stability in the dock, that all looks the same. USB-C port, that's the same. We got speakers on the bottom. Power, volume, not much has changed on the top there. Okay, we look like we got the fans, the fan outlet, that's the same. But then next to headphones, we now have another USB-C port. I'm going to assume that's so you can use the USB-C port while it's docked, but you think that the dock would have more ports. So unless the dock's not going to have ports, why would you need the USB-C at the top? I guess so you just have options for charging. We'll see what happens with that, and then standard headphone jack. Though this design looks so much cleaner now that I'm looking at the original Switch. There's a lot of seams in the original Switch compared to this. Like this is looking much cleaner now. So they've cleaned everything up. Then I'm assuming this is game cartridge here. Oh, we didn't. Interesting that they didn't pan over very much to the game cartridge. They're like, we're going to save that for later. Don't you worry about that spot. Now we're back at the bottom, I think, here. The stand, okay, this is great that the stand is getting an upgrade. It needed an upgrade, the stand. We have this flimsy little stand on this. Also, underneath the stand on the original Switch is where the micro SD card goes in, and I do have a micro SD card in mine. Potentially that's what we're looking at here. This is where we're going to get to put in micro SD. We haven't seen like over this part at the top though. Maybe it's in where the game cartridge is, because this game cartridge, this looks long, like compared to the current game cartridge opening where you can only get a game. This looks like a bigger opening. Maybe we're going to be able to put game cartridge and SD card in there for greater memory. We'll find out. Back to the stand. I'm getting sidetracked. This stand is almost useless. Like it does hold the Switch up only on a very flat surface. Like I've tried to use this before on like the surface that you would expect like a lounge or a mattress to have, which is much softer, and it's just it's not happening. So I'm glad we're getting a better stand. And a very flexible stand. Okay, the original Joy-Cons got bigger, which is great. I do like that they changed the colors to not be the full Joy-Cons, but just on part of the Joy-Cons. I didn't get the colored one anyway. I got the all black, all gray version of the original Switch, but I like this better. And the colors have changed. They're a different color. They're not the old colors. So you've got the connection button on the inside. This port is obviously different for how it connects to the Switch, because the current Switch doesn't have any port. Interesting. I don't know how this port is going to go, but at least this means hopefully that my system will stop being like, connect your Joy-Cons correctly, because I've had that issue for so long. It looks like much bigger bumper buttons, which I like. I think maybe what they've tried to do here is get rid of those connections. Do I have them? I don't know where they are. Are they getting rid of the little bumper like extenders, and they've made the buttons just bigger as it is? I do like that if they have gone that way. But then we also have these two surfaces, which look like they are for something that we see further on in the trailer. This button doesn't exist on this side of the controller though, on the current Switch. That might be like the capture button that's usually on the other Joy-Con. What does the other Joy-Con look like? Still got the same bumper triggers at the top. Oh, it's still there. Oh, extra button. What is extra button for? So on that other controller, go back, scroll back. This, what is this? This doesn't exist. This is not a button on the current Switch. Interesting. Unlabeled as well. No shape, just flat, which is weird. Is this button gonna be unlabeled, or have they not labeled it in this trailer? We'll find out. Because this button is unlabeled, but it has a circle. Like there's some sort of tactile indication of what the button is. Is that a port? What is that? That's a sensor in there. Okay. I think that's a sensor there. Buttons. Better Joy-Con stability would be great. This part. Okay, I think it's a sensor because we put it down on the surface on its side. What are we doing with this? What are we doing when we put the Joy-Con down like this? I know there was leaks or mentions that we'll be able to use the Joy-Con like a mouse, but I can't imagine a scenario where I want to use a Joy-Con like a mouse. I hope this isn't going to be one of those situations where they have a feature that they just bring out like a release title game that showcases that feature and then nobody ever uses it ever again. Oh, there was also an additional button on the top there. This might be the button of how you release it from the system. Because I don't think, did we see the back? I don't know if it has the release button on the back anymore. That might be gone. I don't know if they've fully shown us the back of the Joy-Cons. Oh, they kind of did for like a second there. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have, I cannot get the frame. Is that an additional trigger here? I'm sorry, every time I watch this I notice something different. I think this is the top bumper, then you have the trigger. Is this another trigger? But it doesn't have that small release button. So either this is a giant release trigger, which I don't think it is. I think that button at the top of the Joy-Con is going to release it from the system. This might be a third trigger. Oh, look at this too. This is all one button. This is like connected. They're not separated like the current Switch. The surface button is all the same, so you can slide along easier from one to the other. Oh, wait, no, it was on. Hold on. Okay, interesting. So these are additional covers, similar to the ones that slide on, but they clip in. But it looks like you're still using the buttons on the actual Joy-Con itself. It doesn't have additional buttons on it. Oh, and that will raise it up a little bit when you're using it on that surface. So you can't have the ties on the Joy-Cons. I was wondering about that. So the ties are a part of this clip-on frame, not on the actual Joy-Cons. Yeah, makes sense. I do like it that they called it 2 though. Okay, now they're giving us a look over here. There is a trigger here. Oh, there are triggers here. Now we see the back. I obviously was not paying that much attention when I watched this through the first time. So we're getting 3 triggers? This one doesn't look like it's labeled though. This obviously says game card, I think, up here. I'm just curious about if we're getting micro SD. And Mario Kart, of course. The dock. I don't think we can learn much about the dock from this, but it's nice. I like it. I like the rounded edges. I like that they've matched the corners to the corners of the system. It's cool. Still just want to know what this button does. That has stayed pretty much the same, I think. That's pretty standard for what we've seen from the original Switch. 2025. Plays Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games as well as Nintendo Switch games. Okay. So you won't be able to play Switch 2 games in the original Switch, but some Switch games you'll be able to play in Switch 2. It's just going to depend on the support and updates of the game, I guess. Details will be shared at a later date. It's still a while to this Nintendo Direct though. The 2nd of April, when I first saw this, I was so confused because I saw it on Twitter of the Nintendo Australia New Zealand account posted this up, and I was confused for a moment because I was like, are we talking Australian dates because you're the Australian account, or are you posting an image that has the US dates? But the 2nd of April. And I did see this, the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience, a series of hands-on events held around the world. Had to let the trailer play out. Oh, that is the release trigger. Oh, why is it so big? Oh no, I thought we were getting an additional game control. Oh, that's interesting. We went from tiny little button on the back of the Joy-Con to release it from the system to a giant trigger. Like, look how big that trigger is. Oh, that's interesting. That's why it's not labeled either. Maybe it makes it easier. Maybe it's like better user experience to have a bigger trigger. I'm going to trust in Nintendo to have done their testing properly and that they know what they're talking about. So we're going to have the Direct in April. And then I assume these experiences are happening around the world in May. So maybe that for a release in June. Registrations for the Melbourne event are open from January 18th at 11 AM until January 26th. This is the same registration experience they had recently for the Nintendo event that happened in Sydney. And I registered for that and I missed out on tickets. So I'm not expecting that I would any more likely to get tickets to this. But I wouldn't be too disappointed because I'll be ordering one anyway. We'll have to wait and see. So many questions. So many things have been answered, but so many more questions. I'm interested to see whether they do any other colors as well on release. I'm expecting that there will be more console variations and colors down the line, but on release day, are we going to get a white version? Are we going to get a full black version without any of the color like we did with the original Switch? I'm also looking forward to more game announcements. I really hope they announce a new Animal Crossing with the release or soon after release. Let me know what you're curious about, what questions you would have for Nintendo when they do hold their next Direct, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video.